All right. Hello, everyone. So, like I mentioned in the previous video, that once we have the subscription set it up, uh, we're gonna get the display of the Azure portal, and now you can see the we are on the link on Azure portal.azure.com. And what it's doing, it's going to show us all the basics, so that the screen you're seeing in front of you, that's called the home screen. And home screen normally show you all the services that you have been used previously, because I'm now using that account for a while, so I didn't actually show you the one that I have actually used in the first two video. I already set it up a free account for the subscription, and that is still active. So I'm gonna reuse it for all the remaining videos, and I think that should be suffice. And you can see we already have all these previously used service display on our home page. Now that is the home page which shows you the last option that you have been used in the past, just for a reference. And if you really want to go quickly into that option, you can go and use that service. For example, I have used Azure SQL, so if I want to reuse it, what I'm gonna do, I'll click on it and it will take me to the service, and then I can start using that service or configuring or using it, right? What I'm going to do, I'm not going to use Azure SQL in this video, so I'll just come back to my home. Keep in mind, home is different from your dashboard. Dashboard is a completely different area where you can, put your shortcuts that you use on day-to-day basis. So it's more like a very, I would say, a high-level overview area where you can, and even you can put some gadgets that can show you the overall performance of how your service is going. But that's more like a bigger picture, and it really helps to the infrastructure team or the engineers team who are working and making sure all the services are up and running, configured properly. If there is any issue, they can go and they can check it. Because remember, Microsoft is just taking the responsibility of managing the hardware. So it's more like they are just giving you a base, and now you need to build your platform on that base, right? Whatever you are building, that is your responsibility. Microsoft is not gonna take any ownership of that until unless you actually go and you start using something that Microsoft has already built for you. So for example, if they have provided any software as a service, so for example, I'm going to actually discuss it in the database video, that which one is the best to use once you are building your capabilities. But in this video, just keep in mind that there are two major area. One is regarding the infrastructure and the networks, the physical server, that is Microsoft responsibility. But whatever you are building on your subscriptions, that's your own responsibility, and you need to manage it, right? By saying it, let's come back towards the subscription. Obviously, in any organization, we can have multiple subscription, like we can have the sandbox subscription, we could have the dev subscription, we can create the staging subscription, and then obviously we can go and we can create the production subscription. And Microsoft has provided all these licensing capabilities where you can pay really less for all the dev or staging activities, and sometimes it is just merged in the main licensing, so even you don't need to pay for it. Sometimes Microsoft provide a lot of capabilities, especially in the sandbox or dev or staging environment, with minimum of free of cost to most of the enterprises. It's more like it depends upon what kind of licensing agreement or what kind of subscription model you're gonna actually select once you go into the cloud with Azure, right? So that's a completely licensing discussion, and I think our infrastructure team and technical, especially the Azure engineering team and people who are working with, especially from the licensing perspective, they come into the picture and they sort it out for us. which is fortunate for us. We don't need to worry about. All we need to, if we have Azure implemented into our organization, cool. We just need to ask to give us the subscription, so we can start, setting up things within that subscription. Now, once you come into the cloud, now that there's another very key point that we need to understand. More you manage, more it will be easier for you. So if you plan your assets in a proper, in a neat and clean way, it will help you to, to maintain them and, to administer them easily. But if you are not going to follow the, the pattern that experts have provided or Microsoft has provided, it might create difficulties moving on, especially once you have more and more assets in your subscription. So the very first thing, whenever we go, what we do normally, we just create a resource group. And resource group is more like, a collection of resources that you are using for addressing one particular, either a project or one particular, for example, portfolio of the organization, or even one particular program. It can even extend to multiple project, multiple program, but it's a logical group or boundary where we combine or collect our resources, which work together to provide a solution to the organization. And that's the whole solution obviously is based on the cloud platform. So by saying it, let me just go and let me spin up the resource group. I'm going to actually show you how the resource group look like. But what I can do before I show you the resource group, let me just go and show you some of the options in here. Obviously, we have the help, which is available for you to if you want to get some information. And let me just show it to you. You can ask your community, you can explore documentation. Microsoft has provided some really great documentation on their Azure portal. They have a free trainings and labs available just to make you proficient into the area that you want to work in. So that's some there was a time back in one decade, or like back in 2000 and 2010, where if you don't have the environment, it's really hard for you to gain the practical experience. Now it's not the case anymore. With the cloud advent and with all these platforms to be established and up and running within in the age of internet, you have the full capabilities that if you want to try something, you have the resources available. So it's not like only the theoretical concept. You can go and you can implement it. Whatever the use case you want to try, you can go and you can execute it. And we're going to see that, right? Most of our cases are going to be practical. So it's not like the knowledge is only theoretical. We will go and we will actually apply all those things that we are learning practically. So you can not only, understand them, but seeing them how they are working and how they are happening practically and providing benefits to the organization. Obviously, we are working in the dev environment, so that cannot be used directly for the production because that needs to be transformed. And that's a common practice. Like it's like I mentioned, I think previously, when we build a solution, we just start with the POC to just give you to get the understanding whether whatever we are thinking is possible or not. And then based on that, we will go and we will find out, okay, yeah, it is possible. Okay, what's the next step? Let's build it into our dev environment so we can, fix all the rough edges and bring them within the organizational environment. And it include a lot of things, like we need to make sure the security model is intact, like we are using the right authentication. We are talking to the right databases. If we are using the databases, we have a proper connection established to those servers. Maybe those servers are sitting on the different networks, so we need to make sure that communication has been established. We need to run, and if that solution needs to be integrated with other systems which are already sitting on the organizational platform, we need to check those as well in the dev environment, and then we shift it into into the UAT and staging environment, and then afterward, once that has been signed off by the business, we'll go and we'll deploy in the production environment. So that's the whole concept of learning anything in this modern time. We are very fortunate, like we are not running out of resources. We have the Azure documentation. We can ask the expert in the community. We have a lot of facts which are available regarding not only from the billing, it's the link is here only for billing, but we have a lot of facts that are available for very famous questions that have been used in the past. And maybe if you have a similar question, you don't need to search and spend time. You can check in the fact and you can get the answer. Last but not the least, and I'm going to put that link into the description. We have really great videos, and I would say now a knowledge bank which Microsoft have built in last full decade in terms of videos, in terms of articles, in terms of blog that can provide you that knowledge that is required to get the expertise in any field, regardless it's Azure, it's the SQL, it's Windows, it's augmented reality, or any other area that you want to work in. You will be surprised at how much effort Microsoft has put to actually collect that knowledge and information for you to get you started. Same with the machine learning and data sciences. All right. And for that, now we'll come in here and we have the subscription. You can see we have our subscription, which are, so obviously we can have multiple subscription. Like I mentioned, we normally the subscription model really depends how the organization is gonna architect their subscription. So it really depends what kind of subscription model your infrastructure team or the IT department is preparing in collaboration with Microsoft. But what if you have multiple subscription configured in your organization, then obviously if you need access to those subscription, all those gonna be listed in here. Now that's the screen which normally we configure based on our taste, and that's really important because what I'm saying is some people, they are not comfortable with the bright screens, especially the developers, like the white or bright screens that simply doesn't work with the mind the way they are working. So they prefer always the dark mode. So you can select the dark mode like I did, and you can change it, right? And similarly, you have seen in the VS Code or Visual Studio environment, we have this capability that we can change the coding interface to the dark mode. A couple of more options. Yeah, another option. Once you open the portal, once you hit that portal link, do you want to open your home screen or do you want to open your dashboard? So that's another great feature. If you once you build your dashboard and you want to interact with your dashboard on daily basis, and that is it's relevant particularly people who are not using like a full Azure portal. That means they are not like working in all the areas. They are more like specific. For example, if I'm talking about the data and analytics, so their main services are linked to the databases, Cosmos DB, Azure SQL, Azure synapse, and stream analytics, Azure Databricks. So they are more like looking for those services which are linked to that. They don't care whether the network is up and running, because that's not their job. All they need to do, if they find any issue, they report back to the IT, and IT investigate. And if they have to collaborate with Microsoft, that's the process, right? So that's why the dashboard sometimes become more important and override the home screen. But if your exposure is bigger, like you are working, obviously you are setting up your own virtual machine, and you are configuring the network interfaces, you are contributing into the network side. You are even setting up the data lake instance, all the data storage account. So obviously then you can use the home screen. It's really a personal choice. Notification is going to actually show you all the activities. So for example, any action you perform in here, there's a relevant notification. They're going to come in here. Whenever you log in into your free account, you're going to see whatever budget has remained, and it will keep reminding you, okay, you have that much left. And once your pre-subscription is expired, you're not gonna see, even if your budget is there, that's gonna be locked out because you haven't used it, and then Microsoft will ask you to upgrade. So you can see that the link is there, upgrade to pay as you go subscription, which means that, okay, your subscription will uplift to the next level where you only pay for the services that you are using, or whatever time you are going to configure for that service, only that chunk you are going to charge for it. And another thing that it's not going to be, you have to wait for the bill to come in and then you find out, okay, how much I was charged for. You can calculate beforehand, before even you start the service, right? Because Microsoft has provided all these really great tools, the pricing calculator that can help you to calculate the actual amount that Microsoft is going to charge you, right? And then even based on the timing, you can, if you have less budget and you see the services costing more, then you can find out, is there a time where I can actually pause that service or switch off that service if it can be switched off, so I can gain the benefit of taking some free time out of that service and lower my budget. So all these things more like come over the time and really depends upon the project requirement or the business requirement. Now you can see how the cloud modeling work in a completely different manner compared to our traditional data centric environment, where we normally won't talk a lot about costing because we already have a big investment upfront, and we are utilizing these investment over the time, and obviously the depreciation will cost us in other way. Like these assets, they start depreciating over the time. The hardware is going to be outdated and softwares are going to be outdated in terms of they get the new they get the new version, so that might sometime require the hardware upgrade, right? So that is completely irrelevant to the cloud-based environment. So that's the major difference between these two different mindset. Once you are working in the cloud and once you are working in the data centric or a local data center environment. I think that's the same filter directed and subscriptions. And now there's another very powerful feature that I would like to discuss. You have now, like I mentioned previously, in the cloud environment, with all three cloud provider, they provide their APIs, or I would say SDKs or software development kits, or CLI, command line interface. So if you are not comfortable using the portal and you have their own architecture or environment that is highly secure, and you have set it up in a way that, okay, we won't allow any web interface, or we won't allow internet browser or these sort of thing. However, we can work in the terminal and we can make sure we can utilize everything through proper subscripting, and we don't have these fancy desktop mods on our server. I have a good news. You still can go ahead and you can do exactly everything that you can perform through the portal, because every action we do, or everything that we do in the portal, there is a backend command that has been executed and then perform the work. And we're going to add some different instance. We're going to see it how we can utilize the PowerShell and Bash. I would prefer Bash because once you learn Bash, you're going to actually learn the capabilities of working into three different cloud providers: AWS, GCP, and Azure. Let me reiterate. Once you learn Bash, you're going to have the capability to work in 3 different environments that include AWS, GCP, and Azure. How cool it is. One language, but it controls all 3 platforms, and you don't need to, you don't need to learn something new except the libraries, because obviously the commands are going to be different, but your scripting skills are going to be the same. And people who have these skills, they can understand what I'm talking about. So that's something really great. But obviously, if you are purely one cloud shop, you don't have the hybrid cloud model in your organization, you can stick to PowerShell, because PowerShell is great like that. That's the native scripting language that Microsoft has built in-house, and that is providing all sort of power through the interface. And sometimes I was surprised. Sometimes I find some commands really powerful in PowerShell, which either have to develop in the Bash, if through the scripting by myself, or I need to code into C, and then I need to register back and then use that routine within my Bash shell. So that requires some devs, but so those things are out of the box available in PowerShell. So that these are the 2 environments. We will see PowerShell and Bash into a separate video, because that's just the introduction. So by saying it, let me just close this one for a while. And now let me quickly go through the all services. There are many services that Microsoft has provided, and you can see the heaps and heaps of services. Don't be overwhelmed with the volume of the services. You are not going to learn all of these in your career, because most of the time, even the expert, they are only work with some of the services which are relevant to us. And let me give you another example. So for example, if we are using the data and analytics services, we might only use, for example, database and analytics services, and up to some extent the storage, because obviously the storage is required for us to store our data that we're going to actually utilize once we build our analytical capabilities. And up to some extent, we might use the machine learning, which is, I think, available in the analytic, it's AI plus machine learning, right? So it really depends. And you can see some services, they overlap, like Azure Synapse Analytics, because it provides the analytics as well as the machine learning capabilities. So that's another great thing, that you don't need to switch between multiple options. Microsoft already actually put it in there for you. So if you are in one area, you're gonna see all these services in that particular area. So you don't need to switch between main service categories a lot. So well, I think in this series, our heavy focus mainly gonna be on databases and analytics, up to some extent on machine learning. We'll touch these 3 areas. So keep in mind, these are the 3 major services that we are going to discuss. So hopefully, I believe you have a good understanding how the whole Azure portal look like. By the way, just the start, and once we go deeper, we're gonna get more and more knowledge about these services. So by saying it, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video, where we're gonna start straight our journey towards the Azure SQL. And I'll see you in the next video.